know I love you. You know I care. I feel lonely when you're not around. You know I love you. You know I care. I love you. I love you, my dear. You know I love you, and what more can I say? I love you, my dear. You know I need you night and day. I do anything, baby, for you. You know I love you. You know I care. I love you, my dear. You see, cool, it's a gun, soft to walk, you see, cool. Achawi, aktu, ideu, iti. You see, cool, it's a gun. Tsiye Qaku Iksakan Akusakan Itsu Isiku Tsiyakan Tuwa Isigu Achawi Chadasa Jis Ye Kwasane Isiku Iksikan Tsoktuwa Isigu Iksikan Akusakan Itsu. You know I need you night and day. I do anything, baby, for you. You know I love you. You know I care. I love you, my dear. Isiku, Ixikan, Tsikan, too. Achawi, Chadasi, Ijis, Yekwasane. Isiku, Ixikan, Tsoktuwa, Isigu. Iksekan, Akusakan, Itsu.
Them Cannery lights were burning bright into the August night. The crews are working overtime until the morning light. Clinket women in the egg house packing up the salmon roe to sell to Japanese in the stores of Tokyo. But I can still remember working on the canning machine long before the days of brutal wealth when the salmon was still king. The Seattle Filipino crew working on the cannery floor, anticipating can the salmon by the retort's cast iron door. And through this late night madness you might wonder how it would be aboard a limit seiner cast your nets into the sea. But I can still remember working on the canning machine long before the days of Prudhoe wealth when the salmon was still king. Slimers and the butchers cut fish with sharpened knives as blood and scales went down the drain with the best part of our lives. And the bunkhouse standing empty, the men have all gone home, and on the beach bald eagles eat dead salmon to the bone. But I can still remember working on the canning machine long before the days of Prudhoe wealth when the salmon was still king. Long before the days of Prudhoe wealth when the salmon was still king.
Wake up strong, yeah, right behind the river. Load up boats and hit the road. Head down the river road, falling by the Cannery. Put him by Turtle Rocks and gold. I guess I'll just float down. I'll just float down the moat. It's a natural pace when going by the water. Sometimes we'll stop and surf the flow. Well, it's a place where your thoughts they falter. Your voice screams out, it just goes, yeah. Yes, I'll just float down the moat. Yes, I'll just float down the moat.
It's a Northern Lights night, on the trail shining bright, where the wind blows the cold down to 40 below. There's a raging Juneau on a trail all alone. He's akin to the cold, the lonely brave hearts know. Colonel Vaughan, it's a marvelous adventure marching on to a place in history, a man of courage, with undying devotion to the spirit of adventure on the trail to destiny. Way back in 28 you heard the call from Mad Rover, 100 dogs on the pole, something man had never done. But your courage was there, down in Antarctic air, and the history in your eyes sparkles clearly that you won. Colonel Vaughan, it's a marvelous adventure rushing on to a place in history, a man of courage, with undying devotion to the spirit of adventure on the trail to destiny. And now to Greenland you strive, your horizons align, to return to the site where history had froze. From those wartime remains, you recovered the plains, still akin to the cold that only brave hearts know. Colonel Vaughan, it's a marvelous adventure rushing on to a place in history, a man of courage, with undying devotion to the spirit of adventure on the trail to destiny. Colonel Vaughan, it's a marvelous adventure rushing on to a place in history, a man of courage, with undying devotion to the spirit of adventure on the trail to destiny. Oh, it's a marvelous adventure, a marvelous adventure, marvelous adventure on the trail to destiny.
The culture of Southeast's first residents is still evident in a number of places today. Here at the Alaska State Museum in Juneau, there are a variety of displays, including large permanent exhibits. And each Southeast community has its own examples and reminders of earlier people. Hello, I'm Scott Foster, and welcome to Rain Country, where this week we visit with some people today who are working to keep alive yesterday's cultures and traditions. And we begin in Petersburg, a town where the most celebrated culture is Norwegian, but where a citywide effort has been made to honor and pay respect to those who come from a different background.
Petersburg builds itself as Little Norway and proudly emphasizes that background. But like every Southeast town, Petersburg is composed of residents from many nationalities.
Petersburg is more like a multicultural community. We have, for instance, Norwegians, Koreans, Japanese families. We've got Filipinos and some Scottish, and quite a few different. We can go on, and it's really neat to have that flavor of people here in Petersburg, and also the natives. And I think 1/8 of the people here in Petersburg are native.
To help the other 7/8 of Petersburg residents learn more about the native culture, the local Johnson O'Malley Indian Studies program organized a potlatch.
Dances have many meanings behind them. Our incoming song, over 150 dancers, each one of them wearing a blanket and a costume. Each one of them are representing a tribe. And dancing, they're not only dancing for their tribe, but they're dancing for themselves and showing their skills on what they learned. And they're using it in different dances. They're showing the people around them a little bit about their culture and themselves and their tribe.
In addition to sharing dances and songs, the Petersburg potlatch was also meant to be a way of holding on to a culture, especially during a time when many of those with first-person memory of the earlier ways are passing on.
What we're trying to accomplish is to make our whole community aware of the native heritage, not only here in Petersburg, but in Southeast Alaska.
Helping to keep the traditions alive was one reason people from around Southeast attended the Petersburg potlatch. One of those was a respected native leader and elder from Tenakee Springs. The Reverend Walter Sobolov has attended traditional potlatches and said this cultural potlatch differed from the earlier ones.
The traditional Singit ceremonial was always an occasion celebrating a particular event, either raising a totem pole or dedication of a clan house or a wedding or a post-funeral ceremonial and peace. And this occasion today is kind of like a prelude. Every ceremonial had a prelude.
Many years ago at the old traditional potlatches, as the canoes would be coming in into the communities, chief and elders would meet the canoe and welcome them. And as they did, they would in return bring gifts.
Organizers of the cultural potlatch worked to involve the full Petersburg community. One way of doing that was honoring other cultures.
We're starting tonight with Tan Yuan from China. Tan is wearing a Chinese robe brought from the southern part of China in the 1940s. The dragon and cloud design are made with gold threads. The dragon is a symbol of power and traditionally worn only by the emperor. Cynthia Lee Mathisen is modeling her Norwegian bunad, or costume, from the Norland area, or north part of Norway, where her grandpa Lee came from, near the Lofoten Islands. Her dress was a gift from her grandmother in 1984. Delilah Bernaldo is wearing a dress from the Philippines. It's from the western part of the Philippines, the Atlan province, and was given to Delilah as a wedding present. This just gives you a little idea of some of the varied cultures that are represented in Petersburg. We hope you enjoyed that.
And it seems a shame if you don't know who you are, where you came from, who your parents are, where they came from, how you came about in this town. And if you have any dances, if you have any stories from your community, if you have anything that you could be proud of to show off, from a costume to a song to a dance, if you have it, don't be ashamed to use it. Because if you don't use it, if you don't know what you are or who you belong to, your children won't know.
Potlatch organizers wanted to reach children. To do that, they worked through the local schools, where they found lots of support.
We don't do enough in this school with our Native students, and we don't spend enough time, I don't think, looking at the Native culture. And people were eager to participate in this.
One way that participation came was through school visits by instructors who talked about subjects such as blanket making, using beads, carving, dance, and drum making, including repairing broken drum handles.
This is made from bear, seal, and deer. There's 3 critters in there. It's one of my older ones. Okay, come on and jump in. Be brave. Let's finish a drum here. This one's about ready to be finished.
So here's my halibut, here's the man, and then here's like the ribs of the man, and then the ribs of the halibut. You try to work them together. And so like we could go to Huna and you could show, people there would see this and they would know right off the bat the story that's behind it. And
when you folks are dancing, men dance on their heels and their toes. They got a bounce to it. When you bounce, you use your knees. You bend your knees to bounce with. So go ahead and try. Just bounce a little bit, bounce on your heels, bend your knees. Then you move your shoulders and your hands back and your hands come out to balance you. That balances your whole body so you don't fall over. Then you feel it in your head and your shoulders, your whole body begin to move. You bounce right through. Keep it time. You just keep moving. Keep your shoulders moving, your body moving, and you bounce from your knees. Keep going, you got it.
At a potlatch, they would put a blanket on the floor, and you would dance in appreciation for those people singing for you, and dance on your father's side for your moiety, your nation, and I think we had a tribe, extra special things, and so when your name was called out, you had to listen very carefully, and once it was called out, you would go out and dance. As they were coming out and dancing, they would place money on the blanket for appreciation for these people singing for them. And the money that we're using goes to the Potlatch Fund to help to help with defray the costs.
The food that had been presented as gifts earlier in the potlatch found a quick use at a potluck supper.
The Alaska Native Brotherhood and Sisterhood of Petersburg and Cake they had asked the JOM committee if they could help out and hold a potluck with the native foods. And so they're going to take that food and prepare it and share it during a potluck before the closing ceremonies.
Smoked salmon is our can, which is the same thing in each and every one of these, but they're different. Like there's chums and pink and sockeye. These are smelts. They're good all year round. These are jellies that are homemade jellies. These are herring eggs, herring roe. There's some on the branches and some on the kelp. This is seaweed. You pick it only during the early spring, like May or June. This is ribbon seaweed. You can see the difference. One is black and one is red. This is Hudson Bay tea, and you can pick it in the fall time. That's when it's best to pick it.
And what does this do for you?
Hudson Bay tea, you throw it in the pot and just boil it, just like you're brewing tea. And it's good for everything that ails you.
Has this been a lot of work to get this ready?
Yes, it has been. They've been up here since this afternoon at 1 o'clock preparing it.
Well, is it kind of unusual to have all of this kind of food at one spot, or is this?
They've never had a potlatch here in Petersburg that I know of. So
pretty special then.
I think it is. Yeah.
During the potlatch, participants went to potlucks, parades, and classrooms, and then everyone gathered together in community-wide evening ceremonies in the high school gym. There were some speeches to put this cultural potlatch into perspective, and plenty of dancing that added a perspective of its own.
I think that there is magic here tonight, and there is inspiration here tonight. Inspiration with the elders sending to children the values and the traditions that the children will one day be responsible for passing on to theirs. And as I look and see all of the young people here tonight, I would hope that each of them would just cherish this moment and carry this moment and this gathering and their involvement here in Petersburg with them into the future.
For we lost many elders up and down the coastline this past year. And with them, a lot of our knowledge has gone, taken with them. Songs, stories, history of different towns. Wherever you're from, if you have a dance group, encourage them. If you have one song, teach them. If you have one story, teach them. Even if you know a part of a song, bring it out.
Seem like a lot of work for the short time. They've been working 3 or 4 months on this potlatch here for a 3-day party. But in the 3 days that the different towns are here, I believe we're taking a lot back with us. We're taking new songs, new dances. And one of our biggest things that we're taking back with us, we've made new friends. We can travel to different communities and say, hey, I remember you. You're at the Petersburg Potlatch.
Maybe I'm too lazy nga bit sa kang ridam ken for being too good nga tao gamek chung recha ko wadam king ni chug ni ka ja pukh na para kurili ni tao ang big na pa tagin ka pa igang nakshir kas do kham gi met lachto lisa stuma daryak shooting kai shun lisa riu nga za asin rilang wan bing nakshut. That's all that could be said. Chaksuak kalaf takong nek Bakchaka shunga kafchina gyuni gakam nek Yang na yakuni yani Tchak sugo chimeri yung nani Yakum neki nganjigi kumgo Yachi kuwa nagan at kyung ridaka Bitaka ridam kindaw na wita chikaka Baka wichaka kwa na shung ridaka Dagam bishkunga gingan jokut lama Qaku Tayima Wani wa chali chimni Dangak sunga chikaka jiw khamni Jan retour na shun relam ku manna dai shurich jakumne agayu na shun reta dan balaran na kuya yidur leni iki uske la sot miru ya ota gram chapich nasia Laka shuni kayuk balas kadilang kayak singak bet kuya kumchi kwasyo wida kuvet animni ikayuk baus khok wita shekh bet kuya we kam kenas bejakner kaguta yima wita gumabagani es bet wita jikod janimni Qaku Tayima wani wa chali chimni dangak sunga jikaka jiw khamni Jan retour na shun relam ku manna dai shurich jakumne agayu na shun reta dan balaran na kuya yidur leni iki uske lachto chimiru ga ko tu gon chapich naksiak to
sudden I begin to want you again. The wind starts to sing, drumming my desires. You and the fading light. There's no need to fight, but you sharpen up your knives. Take me, take my
Nasulu uca syekh Qaku kita ringcik se Mi ikal musyirasin rungat lakhtu Nasu ya gudak Qaku kita ringcik se Mi ikal musyirasin rungat lakhtu Nasu ya gudak yor ni yui nate
Many of us love having jobs that we can leave at the office. But for Ellen Hayes of Sitka, her job, in a sense, is her life. She's the director of the Cultural Center in the Sitka National Historical Park. And in these wood-paneled rooms, it's not just blankets that are woven, it's where Southeast Indians can weave their roots. Ellen, you have been the superintendent of the national park here, and it's an historical park. And now you're the director of the Cultural Center, and these all involve a lot of history and historical knowledge. Yet you do not call yourself an historian. Why is that?
When I came here to work, there was a historian. He was a graduate historian. And their way of dealing with history was not my way of dealing with history. And I don't have a degree as a historian. And I have a personal approach to history, and it has to do with folk history as well. Sometimes historians don't deal with folk history. They have they edit out all kind of human interests. And I put it in.
You started with the National Park Service as a secretary and worked your way up to superintendent. I have to believe that that's unusual. First of all, do you know of anybody else who's been in that same sort of a climb in the Park Service?
No, I don't know of anyone else. And in Alaska, there is no one else. I became one of the few women as a superintendent in the National Park Service. I think I was one of 3.
In the entire country?
Yes, in the entire country. And I was the first female American Indian superintendent. So yes, it was unusual, but the time seemed to be just right for it.
Then why was the time right when it happened for you?
I think it was the social attitude in our country, that it was okay to be a minority. It was okay for a woman to advance in the man's world. It was still rare, but it was acceptable.
When you were growing up, did you not believe that it was okay to be a Native?
I knew it was not okay to be Indian. It didn't matter what your tribe was. Just to be Indian wasn't acceptable. We weren't an acceptable people unless we left our tribal ways and converted to the Christianized, westernized way of living.
And as a child, did you just accept that? Was that not even questioned?
Yes, it was the way it was. I remember standing at a store as a child to shop for my mom. She sent me up the store for something. And I knew better than to move right up to the counter, just like anybody would, and tell the drugstore owner what I wanted. I waited until the more important people were served, and then I came and moved up to the counter, and I let him talk to me first.
When did you start to believe then that it was okay to be an Indian?
When I saw the Grand Camp minutes of the Alaska Native Brotherhood in 1966, my dad had brought these minutes to his house, and I visited them a lot, and I saw that their theme was to revive the cultural history through taping of the storytellers who had authority to talk about their own clans within the tribe. That was exciting to me.
And that was a new idea?
Yeah. I mean, right out there on the cover of the minutes, that's what it said.
Now, what about your children? Here, you were an adult with children. By the time you recognized that I'm an Indian, I'm proud of it. Did you try to teach that then to your children who were already growing up?
Grown up. What I tried to do was understand it myself and to take care of the opportunity right in this cultural center. But to promote it myself, when I'd go to the Indian gatherings, I was still learning. Because I've been so much in the center of what's been happening here, I feel like I understand what it's like to be a contemporary Indian today. And I've been researching it and pulling it out and putting it together and in a chronology of events. Understanding more and more what it means to be Indian today. I don't know the degree that they're Indian yet, and maybe the storytelling tapes that have been coming out of this program in the last 2 years are the things that are going to help them understand what it means to be an Indian today based on those earlier events.
How important is it to you that not just your grandchild, but all Indian grandchildren do come to appreciate what it means to be an Indian the way that you have come to appreciate it?
Yes. It's more critical than I used to ever believe it would be. And the reason I'm saying that is that as I have been learning what it means to be an Indian, it has to do with exploring the past and seeing the basic elements of a society that could survive through geographic hardships, and survive through illnesses like the tuberculosis. It was almost like a plague with us. Survive through loss, survive through change, and know how to celebrate life still, even with those losses.
Do you consider yourself on a mission?
I think I've been on the mission. I didn't realize that is the word to use for what I've been involved in. Yes, it's a teaching about meaning. It's a teaching about the forms that it takes in life. It's a teaching about the weaving together well, let me tell you this little story. When I first came out here, I did a lot of listening. And what the man who was in here as as our carver said about trees. He said, you never want to take the trees that are in the front along the beach for carving, because they have shielded the other trees, and they're gnarled and they're twisted and they're very strong, and their grain isn't straight. Rather, you take the tree that's been protected and it is straight grained, it hasn't taken the same beating, but their roots are intertwined. They get strength from one another. That the weaving of the roots makes people strong. And I thought about that. Your identification and your history are your roots. And that makes you strong. You're never a root all by yourself. You're a part of the whole root system. When listening to those kinds of illustrations that were told many times over in this place about life over the long period of time, I began to realize how important those elements are, and to realize what a treasure that is, and not to focus on too many outer things that seem so important, but to focus on what is basic and fundamental.
Yeah.